Hello ladies, Deb here. Welcome to another week of home healing. Today is all about working on our green thumbs. So I truly believe in taking care of plants. Growing a garden is all way therapeutic, just so good for the soul, and it's something that has taken me some time to work on. So I would say about 2 years ago, I really started thinking about having indoor plants. You know, for a long time, I was buying all the faux plants. It got really trendy, especially in the farmhouse design market. And we've come to, as always, we've come to the point where the trend has now died out. So we still are seeing some great faux florals, faux greenery, but there's something so wonderful about having real plants in our homes. So that's got me thinking that I want to, not only for decorative wise, have some really beautiful indoor plants, but also I love the idea of taking care of a plant. There's something about when it's thriving and growing, and I would say probably about 40% of my plants are at that point. As you can see, my dried and dead rosemary over here. So there's been quite a few things that I've killed over the last couple years, but I am learning. And so you might be an amazing gardener and have a great green thumb, so this might not be super helpful for you, but you might find some great new plants to take care of. I am bringing in my friend Dana, so we're actually going to head over to the Herbery in a little bit, and it's a local garden spot here in Howell, New Jersey. One of my favorite places to be, and my friend and neighbor Dana works there. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about what are some things that we could do to work on our green thumb, what are some great plants that we can start with, and all of that. So I have some great questions for her because I'm working on it myself, and luckily for me, she is my neighbor, so there's plenty of times where I'll, ask her certain questions about a certain plant that I have, whether it's indoor or outdoor. And so it's great to have a buddy who is knowledgeable in that aspect. So anyway, so we are actually in my mud room, garden room, / laundry room. This is where I do all my plant watering, and if you caught the blog post the other day, I shared the new shelf we added up here so I could display all my terracotta pots, because I have an obsession with terracotta pots, especially really good aged ones, and I'm hoping to get my hands on some even more this spring and summer. So we're going to hop on over to the Herbery now, go talk with Dana, hopefully pick up a plant or two, and then we're going to come on back over here, finish it up, and I'll talk about some of my favorite plants that I have that are actually doing okay in my home, and maybe there's certain plants that you didn't realize were on trend and you could pick up this spring and summer. All right, you guys, let's go see Dana. All right, everyone, so right now I'm at the Herbery in Howell, New Jersey, and I'm with my friend Dana. Hi. She is also a blogger at Adored House, and she has quite the green thumb. And today she's going to help me help you with your green thumb, unless you're an amazing gardener already. But a lot of us are still working on our green thumb, and I think that is such a great thing for home healing, is working with your plants, and there's nothing like keeping a plant alive. So I'm going to ask Dana a couple questions about what her favorite plants are for indoors, especially now that it's winter, and we're also going to cover what to do about which plants to start with, and also about potting and food for your plants, because these are all questions I have. So go ahead, Dana.
Sure. So I will say, I don't think anybody's necessarily born with a green thumb. I think it's a little bit of a trial and error process, unfortunately, for the plants. It's true.
Yeah.
A lot of my plants have learned the hard way. I know, but I do think it's just a process of learning what kind of light you have, how much you have to water your plants, how to feed them. It is a learning experience. There's a lot of great books. But I would recommend Apothos to get started if this is your first time growing indoor plants. It's a very easy plant to grow. It just needs medium light, so not a ton of light coming in. A lot of plants, a lot of house plants like some filtered light. They don't like to be stuck directly in a window.
Oh, that's good to know.
Because if you think about it, where these plants naturally grow in the jungle, in these warm environments, they're kind of lower dwellers, while these other big trees are towering over them and filtering out some of the light. So, but they can't always be stuck in a corner. I know I've probably gone through maybe 4 or 5 fiddly figs because I wanted it to live in a specific corner.
Right. That's the hard part, is like you have the design process too. You're like, that would look so great there, but my plant doesn't want to live there.
So really establishing that green thumb is letting go of keeping a plant in a certain spot just for design reasons.
Okay.
But yes, a pothos is very simple to take care of. I think it's a really great starter plant. You can get these almost anywhere. They have them at the grocery store, Home Depot, and it's always fun to have customers come into the herbery who said they had black thumbs and then show me pictures of how well their pothos plants are doing.
Do they grow pretty fast?
They do. They do grow pretty fast. There's a bunch of different varieties. This one here has some pretty like white variation in it that's nice. They can get a little bit viney.
Sure.
People mostly know them in big hanging baskets because they droop down, but they're just a nice, pretty, simple plant.
And I think style-wise too, it's a good plant for any style. So whether you're traditional or boho or anything like that, I think it's a good plant for all those styles.
Yes, I've seen them potted in more boho pots, kind of having that more kind of hippie look. But I've also seen them planted in silver planters, like antique silver, and then they look a little bit more refined.
Right. So that's a good tip. It's all about the planter.
Yes. And then one of my other favorite plants is ivy, just an English ivy. Ivy is one of the most air purifying plants. So it's a great plant to have in your home, especially in the winter with sicknesses going around. It really helps clean the air. They are really pretty and traditional. They're not too hard to take care of. Again, they want indirect light, and then they just like a nice weekly watering. They like to stay a little bit wet.
So what do you think, like once a week?
About. It all depends on how warm your house is, how much light it's getting. But I have a Sunday ritual where Sunday morning after I make the breakfast for the kids, then I go around and water all the plants. So I think it's just getting into a routine.
I've seen a lot of people do that. They have their like water Wednesday or something like that. I'm not very good at that. I'm like, oh, it looks like it's slightly dying. Time for water. So I probably should start that myself.
Yes, they like a regular watering schedule.
Okay, that's good because I've killed these.
They could be easily killed.
Yeah.
They don't like to be by heating vents. So that's a thing too. A lot of forced hot air heat coming down on a plant.
AC too.
Yes,
Yeah,
that too.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So cute though.
I know, they are really sweet. And they come in a lot of different colors. This one has a pretty kind of purplish tone to it. It feels very vintage. When it comes to watering too, most houseplants, this is not for succulents, but more like leafy houseplants, when you are watering them, I do like to recommend bringing the plants over to the sink to water them rather than just pouring water in a pot, because they like water to run through. We always say let the water run through. So you can do that with a pot and a saucer, but it is really nice to just bring everything over to the sink, give it a good water with the faucet, let it run through and drain, and then put it back where you want it. Now I know you want to know about potting too.
Sure.
So we recommend that when you buy a plant from a greenhouse or Home Depot, grocery store, you keep it in the pot that it comes in for a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
So the plant has to acclimate to the space. So you are taking this plant from this beautiful, sunny, lush, warm greenhouse.
Yes. It's hot.
It is. Very
It's January and it's hot here.
Yes. From this really ideal environment for plant growing to your home, which isn't like this. It's probably much drier. Heat isn't as regulated. It's not as sunny.
Sure.
So you don't want to change too much for the plant to put into shock and kill it. I think that's a big mistake people make, is they get it home, shove it in a pot, and then it dies because it doesn't have a chance to acclimate to the environment.
Sure.
So I recommend leaving it in the little plastic pot, which isn't pretty, but if you have a planter, you could simply stick it in that until you're ready to actually plant it into something.
Would you put like maybe some dirt in there just to prop it up a little bit?
You could do that, or even some rocks. We've used small plastic lids, anything you want to prop it up. But
so in about a week, then we're ready?
Yeah, a week to 2 weeks, I'd
Okay.
say, for it to really get established in its environment. And when it comes to planting too, this is a planter that doesn't have a hole in the bottom, so it doesn't have any drainage, which you find more common.
Right.
At like Home Goods
Yeah.
or any other garden center. Cuter pots tend to not have drainage holes. And then your standard terracotta has the drainage holes.
Sure.
Your plants really need that drainage. The only ones that could really survive without are succulents and things of that nature.
Okay.
So what I recommend again is if you keep it in the plastic container, have it propped up in something like this, then you could just pull this out and take it to the sink and water it.
Right.
And then return it to this cute decorative pot.
Sure. That makes sense.
When you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really going to give you a better survival rate for your plants.
Got it.
If you really want to plant inside a planter without drainage, we do recommend giving about 1 inch to 2 inches of gravel in the bottom, and that'll give some space for the water to drain away from your roots.
Got it, yeah.
Without drainage too, you're going to want to water the plant less.
Too. That makes sense. Perfect. So I recognize this plant over here because I have this, and it hasn't gotten bigger, but it hasn't died.
Yes.
So it's a great plant. So tell us a little bit about this one.
So this is the Pilea peperomius or something like that.
It's very on trend right now.
It is. These plants actually about 4 years ago were selling in the US for upwards of $200.
What?
Yes,
You're
they were a
kidding.
super trendy plant. There's always a trendy plant, but this was one of them. And what's kind of ironic and funny about that is that this is probably one of the easiest plants to propagate because it's self-propagating. We also know it here as the pass it on plant because within this little plant, it'll shoot out little babies right in the soil. So here I was showing you before, just taking out these little babies that you could just pull from the soil. This is its own little plant that popped up.
Wow.
It was connected to the root system, but just by pulling that out, putting it in a little soil, you could then replant it, give it to a friend. It's a very easy plant to propagate. It doesn't need a ton of sun. Water about once a week. It's a fairly simple plant, but it's really fun looking.
Yeah, it's really cute. I think another really good plant for different styles too. I have it in kind of a traditional pot, and it's just super cute. I love it. Very cute plants.
Yes. And now these are much more affordable. I've seen them at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Trader Joe's always has a good selection of plants. And then they've ranged between like $9 and $16 now.
Okay, perfect.
And then lastly, growing herbs indoors is always fun. They're a little trickier. Basil, cilantro, some of those are harder to keep indoors during the winter months, but a rosemary like this, it is a tree. So it has a hardy root system, it has a big thirst, it loves to be watered, but these also do well indoors during the winter months. The watering schedules are a little finicky. These are definitely, growing rosemary indoors is not necessarily for beginners.
Yes, I've killed quite a few rosemary.
But they are a really great thing to have in your home, especially if you love to cook.
I love the smell of rosemary too. It's just like anything, all herbs, like that's my favorite kind of plant because I love the way they all smell, and so that's
very purifying again, and just like really nice to have in your kitchen to be able to just pull from and throw into your plate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they are really pretty. They're very traditional looking. They just love a good drink once a week.
Yeah, once a week. Okay, so that's good. So now we know once a week. If I kill it again, then I don't know. I give up. I give up on rosemary, but I love it so much. That's why I keep trying and trying and trying. So I think another big question I have as someone who's trying to grow this green thumb of mine is, what about feeding? So, you know, I've heard a few different things about feeding. I think for my olive tree, I try to give it food in the spring and the fall, but I don't know if I should be doing more than that.
No, really, we recommend kind of the growing months. So spring and summer is when you really want to be fertilizing your plants.
Okay.
Just your standard kind of not over the counter, but basic plant food is fine. Miracle Grow, things like that. There's a lot of other products on the market now for indoor house plants. It's important to read the directions when you're fertilizing, because over-fertilization can cause a burnout and cause the roots to dry up. So
what about under-fertilization?
Under-fertilization, you'll just kind of maybe see your plant not producing as many leaves. It'll look a little sad, like it needs to be fed. I recommend a slow release fertilizer. So if you've ever purchased a houseplant from Home Depot or even a shrub sometimes, you might notice, I don't think I have any over here, but you might notice like little green pearls size things sitting on top of the soil.
Okay, so that's what that is.
It is. It's a slow release fertilizer. Nice. So a lot of our bigger trees, like the olive trees, will come with it. And that, every time you water it, it'll release into the soil. Okay. So yeah, I do recommend those for houseplants because it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. You know, you're not going to overdose it with the fertilizer. Right. And it's just less work.
Yeah. So I think it's just a little research and reading what it tells you to do, you know, following directions and all of that. Okay. So I'm not very good at following directions, so this is part of my problem, but I'm working on it. I am definitely working on it. I feel like a lot of my plants that have survived this past year, because I've been really trying the last 2 years to have indoor real plants, because if you haven't seen, the fake ones are kind of on their way out with trends, so people are now looking to real houseplants again. And I feel like a lot of the ones that I had are surviving. They're not really growing much. So I'm thinking it's like I have them on a good water schedule, but maybe I'm not feeding them enough.
Yes, definitely come spring, when it gets a little bit warmer out, give them a little shot of fertilizer. They need it. I don't recommend giving fertilizer during the winter months because you're confusing the plant. The plant actually likes its time to slow down and be a little bit more dormant during the winter months, especially in the Northeast. But yeah, come spring and summer, start to gradually give it some fertilizer. About once a month is what I give my houseplants.
Oh, really?
Slow release.
Yeah. So, but not in winter. Okay, so spring and summer, once a month. Okay, that's a good schedule. I think I can remember that.
Yeah, and also plants really do love being outside when it's warm out. So as soon as it's about, I'd say 60 degrees outside, give them some time out on the front porch. I live actually most of my houseplants outside in the winter.
Oh, really?
Or, sorry, in the summer.
Not in the winter.
But in the
so
summer.
Once it hits 60, then it's a comfortable temperature. Put them out there. Let them breathe a little, get that fresh air and sunshine.
But I do recommend some type of coverage. I keep mine on my front porch because they'll get the morning into the early afternoon sun, but they're not going to be kind of scorched, left out in the sun. I made the mistake one year of leaving my fiddle leaf fig out on the deck, and it was in full sun all day, and it got burned. And it's kind of the same thing, like I said before. These plants in their natural habitats are used to some type of coverage.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. I never even really fully thought of that. So perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dana. So Dana, as I said, is also a blogger, and she has a great Instagram account, and she dabbles into a lot of her plant and flower arrangements, and she's actually starting a new group and a entire floral arrangement class. So you guys, if you have any questions about that, feel free to message me and I will share Dana's information. I'm so excited for her because this is just her. She is so good at this and such a talent, and I'm so lucky to have her as my friend and my neighbor. And so, so I'm gonna I'm gonna buy one of these amazing plants, and I'm gonna show you planting them at home in my little, I like to call it my mud room, garden room area, and I'll show you guys that, and then you have to show me all of the amazing plants that you guys buy in this next week.
Thanks, Deb.
All right, so we just got back from visiting Dana at the herbery, and I have this adorable pothos plant. So I decided to take this one home because I've never, one, had a pothos, and two, according to Dana, this is a really easy plant to take care of. So I'm really excited about this because I am feeling slightly winter blues here, and I think adding some beautiful plants to the house, being able to take care of them again, I think that's just going to just change the mood and get us ready for spring. So if you're in a wintry area like I am in the Northeast, picking up some plants, some indoor plants is definitely a good way to get past those winter blues and to start loving on some plants and giving them some life and also decorating with them. So I love using greenery in my home. All right, so let me take this little guy over to my watering sink, and I've got the perfect vessel for it. And I'm going to tell you why I picked it, and I'm going to tell you why it was a good, bad idea. Okay. So, I'm going to give this plant a little water, and I've got this amazing vintage vessel. Now, I love this guy. If you guys caught it, I had my vintage DIY nativity in here for Christmas. And so this one does not have a drainage hole. But the good news is that Dana said that we can keep them in these little pots for a couple weeks. And even better, oh, my battery is dying. Even better is that when I spoke with her, she said sometimes it's a good idea even just to keep them in here for a little while rather than trying to replant them. And since it's a pretty healthy plant and pretty easy to care for, I'm gonna actually keep it in here because I love the way that this looks. And as we discussed, this pothos plant it could go with different styles. So this to me adds that little French vintage feel where maybe if I did a really sleek planter, it would feel more modern or boho. And I could go modern, I just can't go boho. That's just not my forte. So anyway, I love the way this looks. I have a perfect spot for it. And in a couple weeks, when this thing starts to grow a little bit more, then I'm gonna probably head out, buy a new planter for it, and I'll give you guys an update. But I just love having this new little bit of greenery to my house, and it's the perfect size, and I have the perfect spot for it. Not in here. I'm gonna put it in my dining room actually. So anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. The first plant I want to show you, very on trend currently, is the fig tree. So we've seen fig trees outside, but have you seen them inside? I got this last summer and I predicted that it was going to be on trend this year, and guess what? I have seen it in faux plants now. I believe the Magnolia collection at Target, Hearth and Hand, they have it, and I just love it. So I prefer a true fig tree over the fiddle leaf fig tree because to me this feels more European. I mean, what Italian don't you know that has a fig tree in their backyard? So it's totally fits my style, and I just love it in this amazing aged terracotta pot. She's not looking super happy here. I'm thinking about switching again because I used to have it in the laundry room and that gets better light in there. So I'm thinking she might need a little light because she's looking a little bit sad, but definitely something that I've been able to keep alive. She hasn't fully bloomed in the last year. This has kind of been what she's looked like all along, but she's doing well. So, and she's on trend. I decided to bring the plants to you guys rather than you to the plants. So another thing that's tree that is trending is the olive tree, another really great French Mediterranean type of plant. So that is why I'm very drawn to it, but it is currently still trending. And this one's just a beaut. She's doing really well, very healthy, and I've had her for probably about 8 or 9 months, and she's doing really, really well. I now keep her in a large crock in my dining room, and I just absolutely love this. This does require a decent amount of sunlight, so I try to move her to sunny spots here and there because my dining room doesn't get a lot of natural light. So, but what we discussed before is that sometimes we want our plants to fit in the perfect spot for decorative wise, and yet the plant is not good for that spot. So there's gotta be balance there. So I'll move her on a really sunny day to a nice window so she gets some nice sunlight. I'm talking about her like it's a girl. But I love, but she's doing okay. She's doing good in the dining room, so we're good. Okay, and last but not least, I mentioned that I had one of those Pilea plants, and I got this last year. I barely water it, and the only thing, she lost some leaves because I recently put her under a cloche, which was probably a bad idea because she was getting probably no oxygen or whatever plants need. And yeah, so, but she's still doing really well, and I just adore this little planter that she's in. And actually this does not have drainage, and it still does really well in this planter, but it's probably because I water it like once a month. So anyway, those are just some trending trees, plants that I have in my house, and I thought I would mention them to you because though I'm still working on my green thumb, and that might not be something I'm really good at teaching, I do know what plants are trending, and so hopefully that's something that you enjoy, and something that these are some plants that you might want to look into for 2020. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to show you the new plant parent book that I picked up. It was actually in this month's blog post, so there's a link in there for you. And I haven't fully read through this yet, but I browsed briefly, and I just thought that this was a good book to pick up if you're developing your green thumb, like it says. So anyway, and it's all about houseplants because that's kind of where we focused on. Hopefully this spring and summer, maybe we'll do a nice garden post, get outside. We have plans for our yard this year, so hopefully I could touch more on that. But anyway, I think houseplants are something that are great for 1 year round, 2 for great for home healing, and 3, they are on trend, so they're great for decorating with too. All right, you guys, well, I hope you enjoyed our final dose for this month. I cannot wait for February. I have big plans for it and big plans for this group this year. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave below, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.